Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Cantina MX Football Podcast, episode 476, Unpacking Jornada 6 of Liga MX. We are back at it on YouTube and, of course, Twitter Spaces live. Come catch the smoke with us. We're going to unpack every drama that happened against Atlas and America, Chivas, Tijuana. Those are the two big ones. And guys, it's time to have a conversation about Santi Jimenez and the poor run of form for him over in Milan. And some other shit we're going to get into tonight. Crack open a cold one. We are live, folks. Of course, check out our website, cantinamx.com. We got the swag. We got some photos. We got some articles. And we're trying to expand. So, feel free to check that out. Should be a good one tonight. We'll see the rest of the panel coming in just a moment. But really, two things top of mind. We didn't cover the Leagues Cup quarterfinal action, so maybe we can start there. It was not good for Liga MX sides. I expected it to go 50-50. I expected out of the four teams on the Liga MX bracket, at least two of them to go through, but that was not the case. Everybody was eliminating, starting with the controversial match between Miami and Tigres. Inter Miami was gifted 2 penalties thanks to the referee and, of course, Javier Aquino. Call what it is. It is handball. There is contact there. Like, I'm not denying that. However, I just think that it didn't affect the run of play. It's not like they stopped a goal from happening. It just happens sometimes, involuntarily. But the referee decided to go by the book, call it, and it was 1-0 Miami. Angel Correa in the second half tied things up, and it really felt like the momentum was going in Tigres' favor up until the 85th minute, where everything kind of just went cold with yet another handball, and yet again, Javier Aquino. Javier Aquino, if you're listening, you should look into playing basketball, maybe volleyball, but my man, you cannot give up 2 handballs in the same game. He was definitely the antagonist in that match, and Miami get through to the semifinals. On the other side of that bracket, we had Toluca and Orlando. Really not a memorable match by any means. They played in a neutral site. They played in LA, and Toluca, not too long ago had beaten America there in the Campeones de Campeones Cup. But this time they were dragged into PKs, and that is where Orlando was able to get the result 6-5 on the shootout. So on the left side of the bracket, it's going to be Inter Miami versus Orlando. On the other side, we had Seattle and Puebla. Really, out of all the 4 teams in Liga MX, everybody felt like Puebla had the lowest chance of going through. They've been going through some shit, in Liga MX and in Leagues Cup. Obviously the 7-0 mollywhopping they got was pretty embarrassing. So they came into this match really not looking positive, and their coach had already gotten fired, and they were able to drag Seattle out to PKs, and that is where they lost. And the final match, LA Galaxy versus Pachuca. LA Galaxy not having the most memorable MLS season, and they were able to get 2 quick goals on Pachuca. Pachuca, who, had been doing so well, running undefeated in Liga MX, and now they've kind of hit a brick wall. They lose 2-1, and I think the salt in the open wound was the first goal was an own goal, right? So that was really unfortunate. Marco Roy scores the second goal, and then Pachuca kind of just had to chase their tail for the rest of the game. They did get a goal in stoppage time, but it was a little bit too late. And just like that, all 4 Liga MX teams eliminated from Leagues Cup. We knew it was bad, but I didn't expect it to be this bad. I don't know if Rifado's mic is working. Feel free to hop in on the conversation, but yeah, it was quite disappointing. I at least expected 1 or 2 Liga MX teams to go through, and that was not the case. Looks like we have Joel joining in. And Rifado, welcome to the show.
Hello, sir. Good evening. And yeah, man, it's unfortunate. The league's cup. We should be doing better. I wouldn't be surprised to see the format change to maybe even it out a little bit more. It's unfortunate for Tigres. I thought they were robbed in a sense. I thought the first one was very soft. The first penalty call against Aquino was very soft. The second, a little more blatant, but both of them could have gone uncalled, in my opinion. And I think like there is a bias. Maybe it's an unconscious bias towards big teams. It doesn't matter if it's like in La Liga, Premier League, you know, here in North America, you know, the big teams get the calls their way, and that's just something that's always been the way of it. And it's unfortunate, and it happened to Tigres. But that Angel Correa goal was amazing.
It was
He's probably the signing of the season.
easily.
Yeah, I've been really impressed by him, but disappointed overall for Liga MX. Of course, we all know that the Champions Cup is the important tournament because it has like equal footing, and that just doesn't exist in Leagues Cup. But for those who don't know, this is our own execs' own doing. They put us in here because they love American dollars, because they want to be hand in hand with their northern neighbors to make as much money, to the diaspora in United States. So like, it sucks that like they like sell their own league out, but like it's just the way it is. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, to piggyback off of the penalty call, it was a soft call. Let's call it what it is. And if the referee calls the first one, which was like super soft, it basically lays the grounds for any other handball in the game. And that's what happened in the second half and in the late goings, right? So, if he called the first one, he's definitely going to call the second one. And it was crazy because it happened and all the Inter players just stopped playing. They went straight up to the referee and kind of like bullied him into making the decision to look at it at VAR. And I'm like, so they're just doing what, it's basically Messi's league and Messi's team, and he wasn't even playing. But, when I was invited to the Battered MLS Fans podcast and, he was talking about Inter Miami, Daniel was saying like, Inter Miami never gets PK calls. They've gotten 3 PK calls in the last like 18 months. He was basically like brushing it off like, no, there is no bias there. But it was quite obvious that like Tigres really had a mismatch there. Like it was going to be a tough one either way. Joel's on. Joel, how you doing? You're on mute, but
Good,
welcome.
good man. I'm doing good, sir. Not just listening to you, the cup talk. Now, it's been obvious for me that one of the main goals of this cup is to cement that rivalry between Liga MX and MLS. And as you guys said, in CONCACAF Champions Cup, equal footing, home and home. Liga MX has been very dominant, and so it's going to be difficult with that format to create any sort of excitement, I would say. And yeah,
I just want
it
to
is.
what
Yeah,
the MLS teams, when they go to Mexico, they literally shit themselves. Just want to put that
yeah. So this is a way of you start getting some results going MLS way. We start seeing some things like Cruz Azul, 7-0. And that starts changing the expectations a bit, where I thought Cruz Azul is going to participate in another cup and spread their cheeks the same way. And I'm sure if they were to meet with the Sounders, it will be a more meaningful match now. So it's kind of speeding up the process because I feel that eventually the rivalry is there just because they're going to be competing in the region. But there's so many teams that the odds of these teams facing each other is going to be very, very low. But with a cup like this, every year we're getting matches and more matches, and we're getting some of these results. So to me, that's been one of the reasons why they do the cup this way. Um, Even the playing field for them and create that rivalry.
I agree, but I just want to, add to that and say that it is at the expense of Liga MX, and that is by design. And I just want to put
To
out
an
there that
extent, to an
the,
extent, because the teams decide how serious they're going to take this cup. And I was listening to a presser with Turco, and he was talking about how they were going to be over here for like, I think he said 15 days. So we have to plan for like 3 weeks on the road. And so that and it's something we discussed is how it makes it difficult um, to manage it, because ultimately the league continues to be the main tournament for Liga MX. And it was pointed out here as well, when Monterrey went all in, it ended up affecting their season with they lost a few players to injury. And that's the other thing. So the calendar is not too good as well. That also hinders. But back to Liga MX. I mean, the more games those teams play here, that's they're promoting their team. That's some kid watching a Liga MX live, because very few are going to get to do that. Not a lot of people have that money to go to Mexico, fly down and watch a game. But if they're playing in your backyard, that creates a fan. If you're first generation and your family is Cruz Azul or whichever, and you get to go to the stadium and watch it. And that's kind of how I got big into Chivas. They were here every summer. I saw them play a bunch of games, and these were just friendlies, but that was enough you know, to reel me in, because it's always that experience is always amplified once you're at the stadium. Suppose you just watch on TV, and I think that's one of the things for the Liga MX, that it's allowing them to promote their team. It's like a commercial. They get to show what they're selling. Unfortunately, a lot of times it makes it look bad, like that 7-0. But it's not all the results are that way. We saw Puebla, right? And we talked about how there's a huge uh, Puebla in New York. There's a lot of people from Puebla. They call it Puebla York, and they got a good win down there. So that's you gotta see the little kids they're watching, and that's their experience, and that's the fans coming in, the new fans coming in. So I was like, I forgot who I was talking with, and he's like, well, this cup's not for us. It's it's for those kids, you know.
it's
It's
so
like this,
interesting that you mentioned Puebla in New York. Anthony
yeah,
Bourdain mentioned Puebla people in New York, how they're like the best cooks,
yeah.
and how he prefers to work with them over anyone. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
don't know how that started, but yeah, it's a bunch of kids over there, man. So yeah, it's it's like the what is it? The Star Wars prequels. You're gonna hate them, but they weren't made for you, man. They're like you're aging out. We need the new generation to come in, and hopefully they'll like it and they'll continue buying our product.
So I know we've kind of like beaten this horse up quite a bit, but Rifalo, you mentioned you would like to see some changes to League's Cup. They've already done it twice. What is the final reiteration look like in your eyes?
so I would like it regionalized a little bit more. I would like more neutral sites, and I would like there to be more than just four from each confederation to advance to the second phase. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, I think they will make some changes, and I hope they do, and to make it better, and maybe have like a Copa America Centenaria, where it's like us, where you invite like our southern rivals in, Brazil and Argentina. I think that could really get the ball rolling. And they like money, so anything's possible.
We have Soccer Chronicle, aka Ron, joining us. Ron, to catch you up, we are starting the podcast kind of reflecting on League's Cup. I know how you feel about it. You don't really care too much about it, but seeing all 4 Liga MX teams eliminated in the quarterfinals rubs a lot of us the wrong way. I don't know your thoughts on it. You're on mute, by the way.
Oh, hold on. Let me get my headphones. Oh,
Sounds good. Yeah, I think while Ron fixed his audio, I mentioned it time and time again. I like the League's Cup. I don't think that it's necessary to force this in a month. There's nothing wrong with spreading this out throughout the season, kind of like Copa Meki style. And I would love to see a longer group phase, the opportunity for MLS teams to come to Mexico and play. So everybody in the group gets to play home and away. I think that would be fair. And then that way it's a longer format. And then, the 4 teams that advance, you could say it wasn't a fluke. Like we're getting the best out of each side. Go ahead, Ron.
yeah. Like I said, I don't really care much for the Leagues Cup. I didn't watch any games. I just don't. I think it's redundant. It's in terms of what it serves, in terms of because you already have the CONCACAF, right?
Yeah.
But if it's here to stay, it needs a major. It needs like my father said. It has to have neutral sites. It has to have neutral sites. Having 4 teams, like, total of 8 teams make the knockout stages. I think it's stupid. It's got to be at least, around a 16 or whatever. But I just, I guess, I don't know. Maybe just make it kind of like FA Cup style, where it's like single elimination, and it's like you carry it on throughout the entire season.
Yeah.
Because at that point, like you said, it's just you're being redundant. It's like the same thing. Well, make this, like I said, single elimination, and you carry it on like the FA Cup. I guess that would be my recommendation.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm on the sort of like mailing list for the U.S. Cup, the U.S. Open Cup. And, they're announcing that like this year is like, they're expanding it as big as it's ever gone. And I'm like, wow, that's really nice. Like even like a semi-pro team in, I don't know, El Paso or something has an opportunity to win their way into like an MLS matchup. That would be incredible. Like FA Cup, obviously in England, they do that too. And in Mexico, like, man, I would love to see that open up. Like imagine a team in like Cabo San Lucas going all the way to like a round 16. That would be really exciting to see in Mexico.
Well, like, I think, what is it? I think like if you do something like the equivalent of like the FA Cup, where you're involving all the first division teams of MLS and then Liga MX, you might as well just include like the lower like the lower divisions, and then pretty much you start introducing the Liga MX and the MLS. Like I think like FA Cup, I think that's when they started introducing them, like in the third round, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, third round.
So that's really the only way I could see, at least for me, being of some interest, because then now it's single elimination. And even though you would like, like a draw where it's okay, this one's going to be played in Mexico, or this one's going to be played in the U.S. At that point, I would be cool with a neutral ground played in the U.S., kind of like for some of the reasons that Joel, was pointing out. That, one of the reasons why, prior to 96, 97, when Galavisión came about in the U.S., with satellite, I I I pretty much stopped watching every other sport. I used to watch shit. I mean, before that, I used to probably watch just about every game the Astros played. When I was living in Houston, and I'd watch just all just about all NFL, all NBA, all MLB. But once I started, once you started to get more access to Liga MX, and then obviously playing a lot more games in Houston and in in Dallas and San Antonio, and I'd make those trips. It's like I can't tell you the last time I watched an NBA game. NFL, shit, I think just the Super Bowl. I don't really watch a lot of football anymore. And so like that's really important. And I agree with Hoyle about that. It's that having games in the U.S. It that's how you get the fans, and that's how you keep the fans. And I'm not opposed to. I think I read something that America, I think, is considering playing some official league matches, in the U.S. I've said I'm not really opposed to that. I think that be good.
Ron, I definitely resonate when you mentioned Galavisión. That was my childhood. As soon as we had that, and I used to watch like La Jugada like every Sunday night, and you know basically just watch Liga MX religiously because of Galavisión.
I mean, between 97 and 2001, when like the floodgates opened, you could watch every single Liga MX game. Because then Azteca America came about, I think in 2000, 2001, around there. Dish, I think at the time had a Canal 3 or whatever.
Yep.
But like I said, I mean, when I had access to all of that, what's this pointy ball again? I don't care about this anymore.
Yeah, for sure.
And now it pisses me off because now, shit, you got to have so many damn,
yeah, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, I know, but that's for another topic.
Yeah, it's really ugly. The Chivas Xolos game, I was trying to figure out where the fuck they were going to broadcast it here in the States. Turns out it was going to be VIX Plus, which I refused to pay for. So I started to find some workarounds, and I was very sad to find out that Caliente TV, which was a YouTube channel, they used to broadcast the games on YouTube if you lived in Mexico or if you had a VPN. And I was looking for the channel and I was losing my fucking mind because I couldn't find it. Turns out Fox bought them, and instead of opening a new channel, they just changed the name of the channel. Kind of like when Morelia sold their their team to Mazatlan. Mazatlan just you woke up and the next day you thought you were following Morelia, and they had changed the whole name and the brand and everything. So it was very frustrating to find a way to watch the Chivas Xolos game. I tried using like Amazon Prime. I tried using Tubi. And after that all failed. I just had to go to the tried and true Roja Directa and just watch it that way. But yeah, the Liga MX is very... It's very annoying. It's very annoying that we don't have a collective deal. We can't just pay for it and watch every single game and get, not just games, but after the game, access and behind the scenes, kind of like how Apple TV has done it for MLS.
And I'm envious of that, believe it or not. Because like I said, at this point, I would gladly pay that if I could watch, basically every Liga MX game, whether it's, CONCACAF, Leagues Cup, or regular season.
Yeah, there's a rumor that MLB TV is going to be up for grabs. So it might not be, exclusive anymore. It might go to ESPN or something. I'm not sure, but that's going to be a big deal. While you're on, Ron, I do want to just dive right into the most controversial match this weekend, Atlas America. It was definitely had its moments. Atlas were down 1-0 with the PK call. which, a lot of people disagree, thought it was a soft call to open the things up. Gato Ortiz, definitely the protagonist in the match. But Atlas came back in the second half and, tied it up and then went up 2-1 and then 3-1. But then wait, they ruled it offsides. That third goal, they ruled it offsides after looking at it on VAR. I don't think he was offsides, maybe by a fraction of a hair. And then from there, it was a shit show. America tied it up with Fidalgo scoring, then a red card for Rocha. And then Alan Saint Maximin on his debut scores a goal. What a celebration, doing a cartwheel. And then the cherry on top, another PK call to seal the deal for America 4-2. Ron, how do you sleep at night with all these terrible, terrible, blatant calls for America, man?
Some crisis we're living, huh? Some crisis.
At least not make it so obvious. Like, Gato Ortiz was wearing an America jersey yesterday. Let's call it what it is.
No, I think that there was actually another call that was more blatant than the first one, like the one with the where he slid and he had his arm kind of like really extended out. I could understand, some call it that's a soft PK and stuff like that. But if you're what's his name, El Cantante, the ref, so it said that it's basically kind of like what he did, kind of like an unnatural position. I could that type of play could go either way. But I think at the end of the day, America did what they needed to do. And again, and I said this, last time I was on the pod, I don't see America in crisis mode as much as they were painting, America to be, in crisis mode, going back to the Leagues Cup. They tied all the games, but there's 2 games that they should have won, So, but they're playing, they're playing on the road. I've always been of the opinion that if you win all your home games and you get half of the points on the road, I don't care what this sport or what league it is, you do that, you're in good position. So, they were playing well on the road, they were playing well on the road, and then obviously in the league, in the league, I think they haven't lost a game on the road. It's one win and the rest are draws, and then they've won all their home games. And I still don't think they're in 5th gear yet. I think right now they're probably in 3rd gear. The way it's going, it looks like I would venture to say that at least right now, the way it's going, I think they're at least a semifinalist. I wasn't so sure at the beginning of the season, but right now I think I'm pretty confident to say, yep, I can see them at least in the semifinals.
Hey, I had a quick question, Ron. As the president of Lila, what do you feel about Dagoberto Espinosa, the right back? I think he's got 3-4 starts now for America. He's a young guy, 21 years old. He's eating Kevin Alvarez's lunch. Israel Reyes is like a libero during this game, so he's not at right back anymore. What do you think about this young guy?
Jury's still out on that one. I seen him flake a couple times, and granted, maybe it's because he just doesn't have a lot of experience. But I think, I'd have to pay a little bit more attention to to really how he's making his runs and how he's defending and stuff. And I will admit that one of the things that America needs to really, really work on is its defense right now. I'm not so much worried about the offense, but right now the back line, and especially the back line and the what do you call it, and the holding mid, they kind of need to really tighten the screws and become a little better, because I see they're making too many dumb mistakes. And part of that is because, the left and the right backs.
Who needs
Sometimes
defense
it
when you have the 12th man?
No, but it's interesting because I mean, what's the name? Reyes. I thought that guy was, a year ago. I thought, boom, that's it. He's the one. He's going to be there for 4 years, 5 years before, unless he leaves, goes to Europe and stuff like that. But I mean, I would say that you're that competition that's coming in from behind. That's to me that's a good problem to have. When a coach, when the team is doing good and the coach is having a hard time getting its first team. I mean that's really is a good problem to have, because I mean you guys are there's guys that are competing, and I read today, I don't know how true it is because of the international roster space, the limit, but I heard that Guido Rodriguez, former America, Argentina, international, that he may come back to America. And if that's the case, if he comes back, take it to the bank. America's their champs. That would seal the fucking deal as far as I'm concerned.
Guido's campeón del mundo, no?
Yep. He played. He had some minutes in the World Cup. He also had minutes in Copa America.
What do you think about Violante? Are you convinced by him?
Not yet. Not yet.
All right, unconvincing. Okay.
I think Jardine is trying to find his team. Because it's changed, and that believe it or not, that happened to Piojo. That when he won, when he lost, Matias Uribe, Guido, Edson Lainez. That's what happens when you're so successful for a while. Team, the players leave. You lost. What's his name? They went to the Argentine league. Oh, things escaping. Richard Sanchez and stuff like that. So a lot of the players have left. So Jardine is trying to basically find the A team, and it looks like there's some good internal competition. But I still think that they did need to get some outside help. It's in like I said, I'm not convinced that the Frenchman is the solution. Although he started off really great, let's just hope that he. There's something that I saw that I didn't like from him, and it kind of reminds me of Mickey Arroyo, the former he played for America, right? One of the criticisms that I had with Mickey Arroyo is that it seemed like he only had one speed, and that was just fast. It's like he sometimes he just wouldn't stop to analyze what was going on in the field because he just tried to depend too much on his speed. I saw the Frenchman do that twice, and I was like, I didn't really like that. I thought that he could have made a better. I'd have to look at the play, but I remember when I was watching the game, I was like, fucking strange, like, dude, what the hell? There was an open man, but it just seemed like he had tunnel vision. And I'm hoping that it's just, he just doesn't know his players yet. And, he hasn't gotten accustomed to what they're doing, but I hope he doesn't I hope he doesn't turn into another Mickey Arroyo. And I know that sounds ungrateful because he had, Mickey Arroyo did have some pretty important goals and stuff like that. But for me, he was just too inconsistent, and I hope that I hope this Frenchman. I think I hope he's more. I hope he turns like into a Gignac. That's what I'm hopeful.
Alan Saint Maximin.
Yep.
Rifado mentioned earlier that Angel Correa is the signing of the season, but maybe Alan Saint Maximin has something to say about that. Obviously, on his debut, scored an important goal at that time. It was the go-ahead goal, and Obviously, the celebration was pretty impressive, and everyone is lining up to suck him off already. So don't underestimate the America factor, right? If this guy starts scoring goals left and right, would not be surprised if Angel Correa's efforts are overshadowed.
Do you think he's the real deal? Like you see him making an impact?
I don't know. I'm not sure yet. I think it's too early to call, but I will say scoring on your debut is a massive boost. It takes away all the criticism, all the uncertainty, especially because he came in overweight, right? So already off to a bad start, but hey, he scored a goal and shut everyone up pretty quickly. We'll see.
So now the World Cup qualifiers are coming up pretty soon, right? For South America?
Yeah, we have that window on the 6th of September. Yeah.
I might have to pay close attention to see who gets called up, because I think that could affect America. I mean, not just America, but just other teams in general. But I know that depending who gets called up, and that's where and I think that's where other some of the players that have international duties. I think that's where some of the other players that that are in the bottom of the total point, and that's where they need to step it up in the practices and stuff. But yeah, I'm hopeful. Like I said, I think right now I would bet America at least a semifinalist.
Yeah, it helps when you have the referee. Yep, new soundbite. Surprisingly, it's a new soundbite. They had to renew it from last season. Want to jump into the other dramatic match, and full disclosure, I turned it off at 3-0. We're talking, of course, about Xolos and Chivas. It was like typical fashion, Chivas having to play from behind. I mean, Gil Mora within 5 minutes scored. And I'm like, God damn it. I'm conflicted here because he's obviously a promising gem. He's the real deal. He can't stop scoring goals. But fuck, dude, don't score against Chivas. But yeah, Tijuana scored 1, 2, 3 goals. And that is when I turned it off and, handled some business. And I checked the score and Chivas tied up the game. Armando Hormiga Gonzalez crawling the game back to 3-1. Efrain Alvarez off a free kick refused to celebrate against his former club. And then Piojo Alvarado, he finally bagged one. He always tries these long distance attempts, and he finally bagged one in the 96th minute. Final score 3-3. And man, if you're a Xolos fan, you feel like this is a defeat. And if you're a Chivas fan, you're like, not today. I was going to tighten the noose, but not today. We able to rescue a draw. Rifaldo, how'd you see the match on Friday?
It left me more or less exactly where I was before the match, and that is like tragically hopeful.
It's a very great way to describe it.
Yeah, but you know what? We have a lot of jovenazos. A lot of them did really well. Hormiga, again, cementing himself. He just put his head down and finally got one off in the 74th minute. Efrain Alvarez just showing off that quality. And I believe he was a starter. Yeah. So him and Hormiga were up top. So, like, I love to see that. Last year we're playing a bunch of old dudes up there. And now, like, we have these 2 youngsters starting up front under Melito, who's still finding it. Like, he played Sandoval in the 10 role. Not really, but, like, on paper. So he was more like a third midfielder. So, like, he's still trying things out. Ledesma had to be subbed off for an injury. And then Mosso was subbed on, and he was subbed off as well.
Yeah, he was.
And so, like, there go our right backs. I'm not too sure what's up with that. Hopefully it's not serious.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's up with that, but I thought it was very unfortunate to see Richie leave the pitch so early. I think it was like 4 minutes in, and then immediately Hinmora scores. I forgot to mention, they did call a PK against Chivas, and that makes it 5 consecutive jornadas in a row that we have conceded a PK. I'm fucking tired of it, man. I'm just sick and tired of it. And, whether it's a PK or not, like that's beside the case. It's just the fact that we keep running into this same situation, which goes to show like how badly our defense is. Luckily, this time, Tala Rangel did block it. He finally got one. And that really helped us because 2-0 at halftime, I don't think we would have been able to come back. I also want to highlight that kid that I keep seeing pop up, man, Sandoval. I like him, man. Santiago Sandoval.
Yeah, he won his starting role for this match. I thought he did good. He played the whole 90 minutes. So it goes to show that Melito liked what he saw from him. And yeah, I'm so surprised that, like, I guess I shouldn't be. How shit the defense is. But you look at what Melito's trying to do. He's got 3 in the back. He's starting Romo and Guti, who both track back. Like, he's trying to put men in that area to, like, pack that defense to prevent goals, and it's not working. Or, like, it is, and we have bodies in the box, but we're giving up penalties. So they're not defending well. And so he's got to, like, work on these one-on-ones with these guys, maybe teach him the basics. I don't know. But, yeah, the defense is awful. And Melito surprisingly doesn't know what to do, even though he's a famous center back, which is surprising to me. But that's the issue he's dealing with right now.
Yeah. Overall, I think it was a great comeback for Chivas. It shows like the kind of grit that they need to grind out these matches. But it's one of those situations where it's like you didn't have to go down 3 goals to, have this kind of comeback. You could just not play from behind. But I feel like this whole season we've been playing from behind, conceding goals early and having to catch up. And then sometimes it's just a little too late. So I was ready to to call Melito out and be like, it's time for you to leave, buddy. And the schedule for Chivas is certainly not getting any easier. We're going to play Chemos, a.k.a. Cruz Azul, on Saturday before the FIFA break, that's going to be a tough one. I don't see Abdias on tonight, so we don't have his.
I liked what I saw, Jaime.
You like what you saw?
I definitely did, man. I know the results haven't been there, but that's, as you said, Chivas have to have been like an uphill battle. A lot of penalties, soft penalties, a lot of calls that didn't go Guadalajara's way, like the 2 fouls and against Cholos. Wait, no. The previous match, not Cholos. The previous match when they elbow the dude and then the other defender handballs. So it's been like a series of unfortunate events for this Chiva team that should have at least 2 or 3 more points. But it reminds me a lot of the Chiva team that went on to win, I believe, in 2007. And I remember it was Ruggeri that was the coach, and they went something like a 14 match unbeaten streak. So they weren't exactly kicking ass and taking names, but they were becoming a very difficult team to beat. And that was this Chivas side where it's like, it's good that they have that fighting spirit. It's all the way to the last minute. We saw it in their opening match, right? They tied it in the final minutes. Same with this game. They never gave up. So I think that's a good sign where shows they have a lot of trust in the coach. And I think that you were mentioning Sandoval is a guy that came up during the preseason, and he's pretty much, made his way into the first team, and that's one player that's going to be. I think he's going to become a key player with Chivas, same as Camberos and there's Efrain. A lot of those guys. I think it's going to take a while, but I think they will. They will put Chivas again. At least, at the very least, make Chivas a dark horse. But that Chivas team from the one with Ruggeri, that's the one that ended up. It had something in common. A lot of young players. Sucks we lost Mateo. It would have been nice to have, have him there too, be part of this team. But with what he has right now, I think we're going to see some good stuff in these games. I know they're all against more difficult rivals, but I think that's going to play in Chivas' favor. Always seems to play better when it's teams that are stronger and coming at them as opposed to the smaller sides that tend to bunker.
Well, we are basically 1/3 through of the season with 6 games in. Chivas still have a makeup match against Tigres, but right now they are sitting in 16th position with 4 points. Only 1 victory, 1 draw, and the rest are defeats.
Ouch. It's all fine. I'm like that dog meme. It's drinking coffee and the house is burning. It's fine.
If they were to win against Tigres, that would put them at 7 and put them in the 9th or 10th position. And that would be in the bubble for play-in. And that's exactly where I expect Chivas to end up, is in the at least play-in, at least in the top 10, and get yourself a chance to get into Liguilla. But this team is, again, playing from behind most games, like conceding early and having to make up. And it's, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how this FIFA break will treat them. It might be good for them.
Interesting enough, Joel mentioned Camberos, right? And he didn't feature at all. And I thought that was interesting. And it fueled the fire in my head that he is on his way out to Belgium, was the last rumor I heard. But yeah, he didn't feature in this. And I thought that was interesting. I thought we could have used him.
Damn. Well, we can't.
And Jaime said that, some victories, some draws feel like victories. And I do think we have to commend this Chivas team for going down 3-0 and coming back from that and then looking to win it. So I thought that was really interesting and, gave me a lot of hope. Hopefully they pick it up. The unfortunate thing is that next is Cruz Azul, who just beat Toluca 1-0. And so that's going to be a tough cookie for sure. Good thing Abdias isn't here to tell us how shit we are.
But I mean, don't be don't be surprised if Chivas pulls out some W's against some of these teams. Like I said, they tend to play up when the rivals are stronger, as opposed to teams that go to the zombie life and park the bus. Or so I expect some exciting games.
Yeah, they play up to their opponent or play down to their opponent. That's just typical Chivas, similar to the Mexican national team. Great segue into that Cruz Azul Toluca match. Luca Romero scoring a header, game winner for Cruz Azul. Toluca, they kind of looked a little flat. I feel like with getting eliminated from Leagues Cup, and then now this defeat against Cruz Azul. Maybe that championship, slumber. They're falling into the 6th position with 10 points. They'll still be in Liguilla and they'll still be a contender to defend their title, but they definitely aren't all gas no brakes like they were last season.
It was always going to be a very competitive bout between Cruz Azul and Toluca. The quality of both squads is very high, and they're both good teams with good coaches. I think Turco is a little bit better than Larcamón, especially after that 7-0 defeat to the Sounders. But Cruz Azul is bouncing back, and they did it against the reigning champs. And I think we got to give flowers to that team to have this like positive momentum after such a crazy defeat to the MLS side.
I'm going to take this opportunity to kind of put a pin in this conversation and segue into the roster that Javier Aguirre is taking for these friendlies. They're going to have some concentration camps. I don't know if that's the right term, but they're I'm just like in my head, that's how I translate it from Spanish. And one thing to point out from this list of 23 players, 7 of them have never debuted for the national team. And the reason why I bring this up right now is because, Luca Romero did score in that game against Toluca, and he's been a name that's, been constantly brought up. Should he be called up for the national team? Should he not? Obviously, he did not make this list. Rifalo, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, he had a wonderful goal over this weekend. It reminded me of Van Persie versus Spain, the Netherlands versus Spain goal, where it's just like a lovely header.
Yeah.
And so it was good positioning by Luca because, he's a small guy. If he's going to win a header, it's because there's no one marking him. So, and actually it was an Jesus Orozco assist. So ex-Chivas center back assisted in this goal, and that was the difference in this match. Luca's far away in my list of people that should be called up. And so, yeah, like there's so many people ahead of him, like who I think are playing way better, like Rubalcaba from Pumas, who's having a better season than him, or, Herrera from Tigres, also having a better season than him, Lainez as well, so like, I don't know, as far as like wingers, we're pretty stacked. Not stacked, but we have people that are better than him right now. So he's got a long way to go before I think he gets a call up.
Yeah, for sure. I just wanted to get your thoughts on it because I know, they've kind of like entertained this idea of calling him up to the national team, although he is like Mexican Argentine, and he kind of pledged his allegiance towards Argentina more than he did the national team. And I'm glad that Javier Aguirre is not playing any games and even entertaining the idea of bringing him to Mexico. I do want to go over this list, though, because it's very interesting. Sebastián Jurado finally gets his flowers. I know he was a prospect a couple of years ago, and then, when he was at Veracruz, and then, he went to Cruz Azul, didn't really pan out for him. He's never debuted for the national team, but he does get called up for this camp, along with Rangel from Chivas, and Carlos Moreno from Pachuca, yet another goalkeeper that has not debuted for the national team. Right now that we're talking about this like goalkeeping crisis, I do like the fact that we're bringing in some new blood for this camp. On the defense, we're going to have Denzel Garcia, plays for FC Juarez. He has made his debut for the national team last year in the summer. Diego Barbosa from Toluca has not debuted. Ramon Juarez from América. Victor Andes Guzmán from Rayados. Eduardo Águila from Atlético San Luis. Alonso Aceves de Pachuca has not made his debut for the national team, so this is his first time getting called up. Gerardo Arteaga from Rayados. And Brian Gonzalez de Chivas, Cotorro Gonzalez from Chivas. That's on the defense side. In the midfield, Diego Campillo from Chivas getting called up. He has not debuted for the national team. Fidel Ambriz from Rayados. That's a name I haven't heard in a while. Glad he's getting the opportunity. Luis Romo from Chivas. Eric Sanchez from América. Alexis Gutierrez from América. And Canelo Angulo from Toluca. On the offense, Isaias Violante has not debuted for the national team, but did get called up. Diego Lainez, that's a shocker. Jorge Rubalcaba, Oziel Herrera, Germán Bertrame, and last but certainly not least, Atman Armando Gonzalez has not been called up for the national team before and has the opportunity to join this camp. What do you guys think of this list? I like this list. A lot of young blood.
I absolutely love it. But I don't think like a lot of it is just I don't know, not going to go anywhere.
Kicking
I
tires, so to speak.
Yeah, I think we have maybe four guys that are really gunning for a spot, and so I think Rangel is a shoe in, but Jurado and Moreno might vie with Ochoa for that third place goalkeeper role. So I think that's going to be interesting. Denzel Garcia, he's really good. He plays for Juarez. He's a right back. Sometimes they play him as a center mid. He's a really interesting guy. He can take on his man. He's good at passing. He'll track back. That's why he's a defender. So I do see him as like a real possibility. But we have so many right backs already, so I'm not really worried about that position. But I have been impressed by him. I'm really excited for Angulo. Canelo. He's never really impressed me, but he's done some wonderful things at Toluca, and I'd be interested to see Gallardo, Canelo, and Vega for the selección. Like I do believe that like when you play with like the people you see every day, you're better for it. And so like when the seleccions have that luxury, they play better. And I think the best example of that is Barcelona with Spain. It was like that Barcelona generation. So I think I'm interested to see him. I want to see him prosper because I think his link up play is really good.
Canelo Angulo, he got his debut in 2019, right? So he it's been a while, and I honestly think that there is a ceiling for him. I know, he's like the little engine that could, but I don't see him making it to the World Cup. I know he's in great form with Toluca, but he's kind of like a Nene Beltran, right? It's like you're good for your club, but there's a different level to the national team. He's 28 years old, right? So it's not like he's, like a prospect or anything. He's kind of like already, I think this is his ceiling is basically what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, he's not a spring chicken anymore. And neither is another guy that I'm really interested in is Rubalcaba from Pumas. Talked about him, a lot. He had a chilena the other day. He's got a couple of goals. Really interesting guy. But a lot of these guys can be described as like, maybe this is their ceiling, because not everyone here is young. We have Berterame, who's a little bit older. We have Angulo, who's a little bit older. Eric Sanchez, who's always been snuffed by Aguirre, is finally getting a shot.
Chiquito.
But is he really? Yeah. Is he really? I mean, he's been playing great for America.
Mm-hmm.
Got a couple of goals. Really interesting player. Kind of short, a little bit on the older side. I'm not sure if he's going to get an honest shot.
Yeah. There are some names on here that are interesting. With Linus, right? I know it's like hot and cold with this kid. Everybody really thought he was going to be like the next like Gio or something. And, especially when he made that move to Betis, it didn't pan out. And he's been okay for Tigres, but I don't think he's someone that I rather had preferred them calling up like a Camberos. You know what I mean? Like somebody that we still don't, the verdict's still not out, but with Linus, you kind of know what you're getting yourself into. Berterame, I guess they just wanted to bring in a striker with like experience, and who knows if he'll end up making like the final cut. But I'm really excited to see Armando Gonzalez on this list. I'm very excited. It's like kind of like shades of Chicharito. I'm not saying Gonzalez is there yet. I think he still needs to score consistently. But I remember like the year of the World Cup, and Chicharito just caught fire at the right fucking time. Was not in plans of making the roster, but he just kept scoring goals, and they just couldn't ignore him. And he kind of like slipped into that final spot for the World Cup roster. And the way things are going with Santiago Jimenez and even Raul Jimenez, this is a perfect time for him to just fuck it, bro. Just score goals. Just like outwork everybody, score goals, and earn your spot to the World Cup.
Yeah, I'm excited for him. I'm really interested in him, but I think the guys that are really getting a look in are going to be Moreno. It's going to be Moreno, Alexis Gutierrez from America. I think Romo's going to get a real look, and Ozil Herrera. I think those are the only guys that he's really going to be looking at, and that's because these are guys that he's called up a lot, right? Romo kind of fell off a little bit, but he's an interesting player, and all these guys except the goalkeeper have the ability of playing multiple positions. You can play Romo center back, center mid, box to box.
Campillo
Not
too,
really.
though.
Yeah, Campillo too, but he's never really been called up before.
No, he hasn't.
But if he impresses, who knows? I'm still unconvinced with him at Chivas. Like I like him, but he's been error prone.
Yeah. Yeah, he still has he's still a little green, but that's okay. That's how I
But
felt about
Ozil's good. Ozil's good. He's 24
Yeah.
years old. He's fast. I think his father was like an Afro-Cuban. So like he's got intangibles that a lot of others don't. I think that gives him a solid edge.
Yeah. Right now it's there's no guarantee. I know Aguirre is gonna have his preferidos, right? But I do agree that there are like a couple of spots left that he's undecided on, and that's like for the taking. And if you're in this camp, man, you gotta ball out. You gotta outwork everybody. And then if you do get the opportunity against Japan or Korea, you got to put those chances away. So I'm really looking forward to those matches in September. Hopefully I get in. I did apply for the game out at the Coliseum, which is going to be a very special game because, the Coliseum, so many times the Selección had gone there. And then when they built Levi's, it kind of went away. But I'm so happy that Oakland's getting another chance at a Selección match. And I want to segue into Santiago Jimenez. Let's have a conversation about him. Got the start over the weekend against Cremonense and scored. And I was celebrating it, but he was ruled offside. And that was basically it for him. He didn't get subbed off. He played the full 90. And Milan shockingly lost to Cremonense, which, I think historically hadn't happened in a very long time. And yeah, let's just say things in Milan are not looking good. And, don't forget, there's also Captain America on that team. Pulisic is on that team as well. And, neither have been performing, I think, the way everybody expected them to. There was even like a rumor of Santi, potentially, looking at another team. But let's just call it what it is, man. Like, he's not in good form, and we're in a World Cup year. It's just not looking good.
Yeah, so it's the first match. There's only been one match for Serie A that I'm looking at, and it's a loss. It's unfortunate. But this team has been gutted. They had like this guy like Rainiers or Rainier or something like that. He was like the engine. Now they got Modric, but the team's still finding itself. And then they sold their left back or one of the Hernandez brothers. So like, I don't know. It's the first match. I wouldn't write him off just yet, but he's a starter for a historically big team, and there's going to be a lot of pressure for him.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if they spend big money, another 40 mil on someone else in his position. So hopefully it works out for him. If not, this will have been a great experience for him, and he can move to another Serie A club. Or, Serie A is very incestuous. A lot of clubs, like even Inter and AC Milan, trade fairly often. I think Inter has Çalhanoğlu, the Turkish midfielder, he used to play for AC Milan. It was like a direct trade. But like I think every generation they got a guy or two that did a switcheroo there. And if not Inter, it's like Juventus. So I think this is just the beginning of Santi's career in Italy. He's got an Italian passport, I believe, or a European passport. And so he's just got to find his sea legs. And we're watching that in real time.
It's going to be a short leash for Santi Jimenez. And if he doesn't start producing, you can see that turning very quickly. feel like the fans are very fickle there. I also think that the Liga MX subreddit has been super critical of him and like super toxic. Like, oh, this guy's worthless and he's not the truth and he's overrated. And I'm like, bro, it's literally like one game, and had he scored that goal that was ruled offside, I think it would have been a different conversation. But I think the problem with Santi is for him going to Europe and playing and playing for Milan and playing in Serie A, we kind of expect him to be that starting striker for the national team. But I don't know, man. I don't know if it's just a system thing or his limitations, or I'm not sure what it is, but he hasn't really convinced me. And we cannot be depending on a Raul Jimenez who is pushing like, I think 34, 35 by the time we're going to go into the World Cup next year. So it's not a great position to be in is what I'm trying to say. I know that France and Giroud figured it out in 2018, but we don't have a Giroud. We don't have a player like that. And I don't think we have a supporting cast that could pull this off, like go into a World Cup without like a solid, convincing striker. And that's why I'm really hoping for Armando Gonzalez to really just fucking catch fire and like make it impossible for Aguirre to ignore. Looks like Tomas wants to chime in on the conversation. Tomas, welcome.
What's up, guys? I was just thinking about driving here, listening about the Santi. Kind of, I know it's kind of early in his career, but he has the weight of kind of the weight of Liga MX and Mexico fans on his shoulders. But yeah, you're right. Something just doesn't click. There's something that's like I don't know if it's a mental, but we've seen glimpses and shimmers of hope, but just something isn't right. Let's assume he doesn't fire in all cylinders leading up to the World Cup. Do you guys think that Raul will hold up, or maybe is it unfair to put the pressure on a young kid like Mora? Or is there a dark horse that maybe is kind of like unexpected that can, I don't know, pull a rabbit out of a hat? If assuming that Santi doesn't produce.
Yeah, like I said, it's Armando Ant-Man Gonzalez from Chivas, who's been consistently scoring goals this season for Chivas, and is going to get his debut with the national team in this upcoming window. He was invited to the camp, so hopefully he can turn up and really put the pressure on your usual suspects, both Jimenez, Raul, and Santi. But obviously, they're also depending on Germán Berterame, who plays for Rayados. He's got more experience, and Aguirre likes his naturalizados. Let's just call it what it is. He called Guille Franco in 2010. He's got a history of doing that. So we'll see. It's going to be a tight one, but again, when there's a crisis, there's an opportunity. Raul Jimenez, I was watching the game on Sunday, Fulham versus Manchester United. Unfortunately, he did not get the starting spot, and he came in my opinion, a little bit late. He got subbed in, and I didn't really do much. So, Raul Jimenez is also like not your starting striker at Fulham anymore. So, playing time is going to be essential for both Jimenez's.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to lean on that naturalizado route. But it can work. It can work, and it's like you're patching together a squad, and I mean, whatever it takes, right? It's all about getting hot at the right time with the World Cup. So
Germán Berterame currently has 4 goals and 1 assist in 6 matches. So he's hot. And Sepúlveda, I believe, is doing pretty good too. But there's also Julián Quiñones, right? He's only got 1 match this season, no goals, no assists. But I believe he had 18, 17 goals and assists last season. So he's another guy in contention, maybe on the wings, maybe behind the striker. So we've got a few choices here. And basically Sepu, Raul, Santi as the three mainstays. Berterame coming in, chomping from behind, and then Quinones, a variable. Um, so none of them are tearing it up at the moment, but we'll see as we get closer who gets hot. Maybe it'll be someone else.
Yeah, Sepulveda from Cruz Azul. I feel like he's never really gotten the opportunity. He's scored some bangers for Cruz Azul. He's been a great striker that they can depend on. I just again he's kind of like Canelo Angulo. It's like there's a ceiling to him, and he's also like you said, not a spring chicken. So you do have Sepulveda, but man, it's just like it's a World Cup year, man. We should have our nine that we can depend on, especially now that we're having a player like Gil Mora, starting to rise, and we have some other exciting prospects. I'm like, fuck, dude. It's like we're we're missing that final like threat up top, and I hope that we can figure it out between now and the World Cup.
Yeah, Armando's not far behind Berterame. He's got 3 goals, 0 assists in 5 matches. So, you know, he could do it. He could be the guy. He's fast enough to be like a variant. Like you could put him out on the wings, play him in a duo. He's an interesting prospect. I like the way he attacks space. I like the Chicharito comparisons. They're not that common, but the way they attack space is great for both of these players, and so we'll see who gets hot. And hopefully it's Hormiga. Hopefully it's Raul. I think Raul is probably our best bet. But if he's not starting, maybe he'll go back to America or something. I don't know. But he'll need playtime.
Speaking of play time, Edson Alvarez has finally found a home. He's in Turkey. He's playing for Fenerbahce, and that is official. I know that the Turkish league is quite entertaining. Obviously, the animosity between the fans, they're very, very passionate. And it's a loan, so it's not a permanent move to Fenerbahce, which puts me at ease because, you do have Mourinho there, and Mourinho is, got quite a reputation for getting fired or, getting dismissed. So we'll see how long this project lasts, but it's going to be interesting to watch Edson Alvarez in a new environment and being coached under Jose Mourinho. I'm looking forward to it. Another thing to add is the West Ham fans can't figure out why he left. They're unhappy about this move. And yeah, so it's not like the fans were all excited to see him leave.
I think it was Edson who manufactured this move. He wanted more playtime in a World Cup year prior to a World Cup year.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So what's the stink on him, if you will? Is he deemed like as a non-athletic player, or what? Or was it a new coach? What was kind of? I know Rifalo mentioned that he may have manufactured this move, but what do you guys think prompted it?
Wesley Schneider criticized him and Jorge Sanchez when they were both playing for Ajax, and just basically called out on how limited he is as a midfielder, that he, either passes back or sideways, but he's not someone that comes forward. And, basically just called him limited. And despite that, he made a move to the Premier League, and I think he did really well in his first season at West Ham. But I don't know if he just like fell out of favor, new coach, new something. But yeah, he hasn't been featured as much, and he probably read the room very quickly and realized, I'm the captain of the Mexican national team. I cannot afford to be on the bench on a World Cup year. Get me the fuck out of here.
%. He is limited because at Ajax, they want you to be Busquets. They want you to be like someone who is just like a conduit first and a defender second. And that's the opposite of El Machin. He's a defender first, and he's a you know deep lying playmaker second. And he's not that good at being a deep lying playmaker. And so I think it was Lopetegui who was at West Ham. I don't know if he's still there, but he definitely prefers someone who's better on the ball than Edson. So yeah, he is limited, but that doesn't mean he's not good. And while he wasn't appreciated at West Ham by that coach, Mourinho loves a marauder. Sammy Khedira was just fucking people up under Mourinho. Like he always had this big, tough guy just running people down.
Khedira, man, that's a name I haven't heard in a while.
Yeah, dude was a beast for Mourinho.
For sure. Jumping back into Liga MX real quick, go over some results. Juarez got their victory against Santos Laguna on Friday, 2-1. The player Denzel Garcia, the player that's been called up for the national team, scored in that game, as well as Angel Saldivar. So a great result for Juarez, and that will put them in 8th position with 8 points. We had Querétaro and San Luis, quite a match. Querétaro got the victory 3-2 on Friday. I did not watch this one, but a great result for Los Gallos Blancos, who are not doing so well in the table. They are right under Chivas in the 17th position, and this was their first victory of the season. We already talked about Chivas and Xolos, a 3-3 draw over there in TJ. What'd you guys think of, is it Katia, the referee? You think she has a chance of making the World Cup?
I think she's good. The camera seems to love her. I won't say why, but the Mexican media, they like her. I don't know why though. I can't put my finger on it.
I like her. I like her a lot. I like the fact that maybe because of having a female presence, I feel like the players aren't as, they're not as angry as, they're not going to go for her throat like they would a male referee. You're not going to get as much backlash. And I think they were like criticizing her in that match for some of the calls. But she made all the correct calls, I think. And even on the PK, she like reviewed it and everything. So I would love to see her featured in the World Cup. I would assume she'd be the first female ref to do that. So that'd be pretty historic. But obviously, like, you don't want to just say, oh, because she's a woman. I think she's a great referee. One of the few in the league. Leon and Pachuca. I don't know if you are Grupo Pachuca, how you decide who wins the match. Do you guys flip a coin? Like, both teams are owned by the same ownership. Idrisi scored from a PK, and as well as Ismael Diaz for Leon. Idrisi, I could have sworn he had like left Pachuca, but in the end, I guess nobody wanted him or something. In the end, he's still at Pachuca. Monterrey beat Necaxa 3-0. Quite dominant performance, including a gol olímpico from Sergio Canales. The other Sergio scored from the PK spot, Sergio Ramos. And honestly, I think that Rajados are the team to beat this season. Unfortunately, Ron left already, but I would like to see maybe a potential America Monterrey final, or at least like a semifinal. I think that would be very entertaining.
Ambriz had like a really good long distance shot on goal that only barely missed. I thought that was really good. So, it's good that he's getting confidence. Fimbres had an appearance here. He kind of fell off for a little bit. Looks like he's getting more minutes as the season progresses, which is great for our jovenazo Fimbres for Monterrey. So, yeah, this is a really good squad. I'm looking at it on paper. It's probably the deepest squad next to Cruz Azul, maybe a little bit better than Cruz Azul. But it's just they're just absolutely fucking stacked.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, if they don't win, then they're cursed.
Fimbres, you have Hector Moreno, who's, a little bit over the hill, Oliver Torres, and we're just describing their bench right now. But then you still have Tecatito Corona, Sergio Canales, Sergio Ramos, Bertrame, Ocampos, Sambriz. I mean, Arteaga, right? Like Aguirre. This team is fucking stacked, bro. They should be winning every game, especially considering the amount of money they've invested into this squad. It's kind of like the Yankees, right? Like, no excuse for them to lose. And that's why they're on top of the league with 15 points. They've only had one defeat, the rest victories. And it's 5 in a row, by the way, for Rajados. Mazatlan was able to get a draw against Tigres. They were actually up 1-0. Angel Correa scored to tie it up. Fabio Gomez made it 2-1. And then in the 100th minute, Nicolas Ibanez tied it up for Tigres. I didn't watch this match, unfortunately, but Angel Correa continuing to be on the scoreboard. We talked about Cruz Azul, got that victory over Toluca. Luca Romero scoring a great header in that match. And Pumas Puebla, pretty fucking boring. 0-0 draw there. And of course, the controversial match of the weekend, Atlas America. This gave me like shades of the old Atlas America matches that I grew up watching, especially like, nighttime in El Jalisco. A lot of drama, a lot of animosity between both sides. And I really thought Atlas were going to run away with this, especially when they went up 3-1. But then that goal got ruled offside, which was bullshit. Let's just call it what it is. And Gato Ortiz decided to, rule the game in America's favor with a lot of controversial calls. And America ended up winning 4-2. And that's all the matches for Jornada 6. We will have another match week before the international break. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes this week for all the teams. Some of the standout matches this weekend, America Pachuca on Saturday, Chivas Cruz Azul. Those will be definitely the matches to keep your eye on. And the rest of them kind of look lopsided. Maybe that Pumas Atlas match might be entertaining on Sunday. But yeah, that's the results we have for the week. Do you guys have any other burning topics that we need to discuss tonight? I think we covered pretty much everything.
You know what? I did miss the opportunity to slam to criticize what's it called, multipropiedad with you, and it's just I watched this game versus Pachuca and León, and a lot of these players have played for both teams, and like there's like this camaraderie between both of them that shouldn't exist. And so what's it called? I hate multipropiedad, at least in the same league.
Yeah.
Like it just can't exist. Hopefully they get rid of it ASAP.
Yeah, good call out there. Like I said, it's like, what do you do? Like, you flip a coin, like who wins the game? You can't ignore the fact that like they're both the same ownership and, have played for both sides sometimes. And yeah, it's just questionable.
And Leon's really fallen off. Like James Rodriguez was subbed on. So he hasn't been starting. Like, I think he's kind of given up. He's flipping into, the old party mode. So, I think the one who's going to win is the one that's going to be invested in more. And right now, that's Pachuca, without a doubt.
And let's not forget that they also have is it Real Oviedo that's owned by Grupo Pachuca,
Yes, sir.
and they played against Real Madrid. Tough match. They lost 3-0 for Paunovic and Real Oviedo. I mean, it's going to be pretty much mission impossible for them to stay in the first division, but they did have King Solomon join the project, which is unfortunate because I really enjoyed his time in Liga MX. I'll give you guys the opportunity for closing thoughts. Want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. But Joel, are you still on? Do you want to kick us off? Maybe he's on daddy duty. Rifalo, do you want to add anything?
Yes, sir. As always, I want to do my Jovenazo rundown. And this week, it is at 13%, or let's see, or 49 total Jovenazos played out of 378, out of a pool of 378 available players. And so that equals 13%. Not great. Typically I want 1/5 or 15%, or a little beneath that, but a little better than the previous Jornada, which was at 13%. So it's a growth of 1%. And I just wanted to shout out some of the guys that stood out to me. Atlas, I know they lost, but there's this kid who's like 6 foot something, 6'2", 6'1",
Oh, really?
21 years old, Victor Rios. He could play center mid, he could play center back, but today he played as a left mid. I mean, during the Ame game, he played as a left mid, and I think that's really interesting. Like, why are you going to put this tall ass dude out on the wing? Because he's good on the ball. And so I really do think this guy, I've been touting him for a while. I think he needs to move somewhere else.
What's his
Or
name?
maybe his name is Victor Rios.
Oh, Victor Hugo Rios de Alba. Okay.
Yeah. So he's he's tall as hell, man. And I'm just impressed by him. I think he's got good intangibles. So watch out for this guy. I already spoke about Dagoberto for Club America, 21-year-old right back. He's got like 3 or 4 starts now. He's the guy for Jardine thus far. Good guy, good player. I like him. Not Jovenazo related, but Pumas debuted Aaron Ramsey with the number 10.
Oh.
Nothing happened, but he finally played. So,
Nobody died yet. He hasn't scored.
Exactly. And let's see who else. I already talked about Orozco. He had the assist, and then we have Romero with the goal. These guys are both young. They're great. Let's see who else impressed me. Pachuca, Elias Montiel, week in, week out. He's a great player, but we already know that. Let's see who else we got. Gil Mora, we already spoke about him. 16 years old, 2 goals. One of them was kind of lucky, but he had to be there, to put it away. It just goes to show you the way he reads the game is really, really mature beyond his years. Fascinating player. I think a generational talent, and I can't wait to see what he becomes, because I think I'm expecting great things from him. And then of course Chivas, we have like the most Jovenazos week in, week out. I don't think we get enough credit for that. We're always complaining about how broke Amaury is, and usually he is. But this season he bought a bunch of cool guys that I really like, and we play with Jovenazos, and we're talking about Sandoval, who's the son of El Negrito Sandoval, 18-year-old center midfield, started for us, played the whole 90 minutes. Wonderful player, good on the ball, good off the ball. He's young, he can run for days. So I'm really interested to see what he does. Efrain Alvarez with a beautiful free kick goal, and then Hormiga with the he basically started the comeback with his goal. So like the most Jovenazos, who's got him? Chivas. Who got down the most like what Jovenazos got down the most this jornada? Chivas. And so like that should be the headlines, I think. But like no one's talking about that. Unfortunate. But I do think something good is brewing here. Anyways, thanks for having me, Jaime. Always love talking with you guys. And yeah, have a great one, everyone.
Yeah, thanks Rifalo for that breakdown. I know you've been consistently putting out content. Where can we find that content?
You can find me on Twitter, El Rifado 13. I also write for Footmex Nation. You can check us out. Just look up Footmex Nation. And then I have a TikTok, and I've been making TikTok videos on. And let me just pull up my profile.
Yeah, if you want ASMR style Liga MX, make sure to follow him on TikTok. It's a very seductive voice.
I do bring out, the voice that I usually reserve for the ladies only. So follow me at Flower Volpez on TikTok, and you can listen to my sexy voice describe Liga MX whenever you want, on repeat. And that goes out to everybody, including Abdias. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, I was watching one of your videos that showed up on my feed. I'm like, why is he so seductive? Like, what? It reminds me of that time when Jurgen Klopp was at a press conference, and I don't know if they're playing a French team, maybe in Champions League, and the guy that was like translating for him just had like a very like erotic voice. And Jurgen Klopp's like, wow, that's a very erotic voice. Good for you. Can you repeat that again? It was just very funny.
Me and that French guy, we're just suckers for love, man. What we say?
Yeah. Well, thank everyone for joining us tonight. All our listeners, you guys are always constantly showing us love on Spotify. I don't know what podcasting app you guys use. I know we're on all of them, like Apple and all these other ones, but something about Spotify, you can add comments to our episodes. So please leave comments, talk shit. I enjoy waking up and reading all the comments that people leave behind after we upload the episode. So continue to do that, please. That's my favorite thing to do. Wake up in the morning and read these comments and screenshot them and send them to the chat because they're fucking hilarious. So continue to do that, guys. I love it. Hot take from me, really, like, just got to give Johan Vasquez his flowers. Not only is he starting for Genoa, but he's got the captain's armband, which is so significant, right? Like, that's like shades of Rafa Marquez. He's no longer just a player. He's a protagonist, and that is what you love to see. And we don't have enough of those in Europe, right? Not just you're playing, you're getting minutes in Europe, but you're a fucking protagonist. People are actually looking up to you. They're responding to you. You're demanding shit from them. And that's the kind of shit, that's the kind of level we need to be at if you're out there in Europe. Not just excited that you're on a bench in Europe or playing in a fisherman's league, but you're one of the best on the pitch. So I'm very happy for Johan Vasquez, and I look forward to his leadership in the World Cup. I think, in my opinion, right now, he deserves the captain's armband over Edson Alvarez. That's my hot take for sure. And Gil Mora, I am really trying to stay on the ground. I'm really trying not to get into the hype. I'm really trying not to get my hopes up because we see this happen time and time again with prospects, the Lionesses of the world, the Marcelo Flores of the world. And Gil Mora just day in and day out continues to perform and score goals and be the protagonist. And he's only 16 years old. It just fucking baffles me. It's like hard for me to comprehend that. Over the weekend, I went to go see my nephew play, and he is playing in an under 16 league. And I'm like, bro, like, Gil Mora could be playing with this kid in this league. He's that young, but he's out here balling out against professionals week in and week out. So I'm very excited for Gil Mora. Protect Gil Mora at all costs. That is the what we hope. We just protect him at all costs. Make sure he makes the leap to Europe and see his career flourish. I think he's good enough to play for the best of them. We only get one of these talents like once every generation, and it's time. It's time for another Mexican to carry the torch. It's been a long time. So I'll leave it there. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight, and we'll catch you on the next one.